When a tourist's camera captures a child standing face-to-face with Africa's deadliest lion pride, the world holds its breath. The 5 lions nicknamed the Ghost Pride have terrorized Tanzania's Serengeti Wildlife Reserve for months, charging vehicles, ambushing rangers, and leaving 4 men hospitalized. After their latest attack nearly kills a senior ranger, wildlife officials make the heartbreaking decision: these animals must be destroyed. But before sharpshooters can act, 8-year-old Amara Okafor slips away from her father and does the unthinkable. She walks directly toward the pride's battle card, alpha male. What happens in those breathtaking moments will shake the foundations of wildlife science and conservation forever. Behind the ghost pride's aggression lies a story of suffering. The experts missed poaching, poisoning, and betrayal that transformed these magnificent creatures from peaceful animals into vengeful shadows. Only through a child's eyes could their truth finally emerge. Quick pause before we continue. Tell us, where in the world are you watching from? If you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit subscribe, because tomorrow's episode is absolutely mind-blowing. The light hasn't yet broken over the eastern horizon, as Lato Kumalo steps from her ranger station into the cool morning air. 20 years patrolling the Serengeti Wildlife Reserve haven't dulled her reverence for this moment, that breathless pause before the world awakens. She adjusts her khaki uniform and checks her rifle, a precaution she once considered ceremonial, but now regards with grim necessity. Command to Ranger 1. Radio check, crackles her handheld Ranger 1, reading you clear. Lorado responds, her South African accent clipping the words, beginning Eastern Sector Patrol. Her colleague Daniel slides into the Land Cruiser's passenger seat, his right arm still wrapped in bandages. The Peter Young Ranger's face bears the tightness of someone forcing courage. "You don't have to come," Lorado says, starting the engine. "No one would question you sitting this one out." Daniel shakes his head. "I need to see them again to understand." They drive in silence as dawn bleeds across the savannah, painting the landscape in amber and gold. Herds of zebras scatter before the vehicle, their black and white patterns stark against toy grass. In another time, this beauty would have filled Lorado with peace. Today, her eyes constantly scan the horizon, searching for shapes that don't belong there. Daniel whispers, pointing toward a distant acacia tree by the southernmost stand. Lorado raises her binoculars. 5 lions rest in the patchy shade, their tawny bodies almost invisible against the dry grass. The largest, a male with a distinctive dark scar running from his left eye to his muzzle, lifts his head to watch their approach. "That's them," she confirms. The Ghost Pride Director Sophia Chen's office sits at the highest point of the reserve's administrative building, its windows offering a panoramic view of the landscape she's sworn to protect. Now she stares down at the photographs spread across her desk. 4 separate attacks, each more brazen than the last. "They've never shown this pattern before," says Dr. Josephine Bennett, the reserve's behavioral ecologist. The American researcher taps a satellite image showing lion migration routes. These 5 were part of the Kaipeo Pride until about 7 months ago. No aggression. Normal hunting patterns. Standard avoidance of human contact. What changed, asks Minister Ibrahim Joseye, the government official who's flown in specifically for this crisis meeting. Everything, says Samuel Okafor, the reserve senior wildlife biologist. Unprecedented drought poaching incursions from the north. And this, he places another photo on the desk, this one showing a lion's paw mutilated by a wire snare. Scar, the male, was caught in a poacher's trap. 4 months before the first attack, rangers freed him, but so they're associating humans with pain. Director Chen concludes, "It's more than that." Samuel insists these attacks aren't random. They're targeting ranger patrols, specifically avoiding tourist vehicles. "It's like they're hunting us." Minister Owe's face hardens. 4 rangers hospitalized. A British tourist nearly killed. "The international press is calling them the Killer Pride. I've authorized the removal order." "Removal?" Samuel's voice rises. "You mean execution? Mean protection of human life?" Owe counters. "My responsibility extends beyond these 5 animals. Doctor, Okafor to the people of surrounding villages, to our tourism industry, to the reserve staff. We haven't exhausted all options, says Dr. Bennett, though. Her voice lacks conviction. Relocation has failed twice. Director Chen interrupts. They return to the same territory within days. Samuel stares out at the savannah stretching beyond the windows. Give me one more. Week 7 days to try something different. What haven't we tried? Ozzy asks skeptically. I have a theory. Samuel begins but seems reluctant to continue. The removal team arrives on Friday, Jose says, rising from his chair. That gives you exactly 5 days. Dr. Okafor. After that, I'm putting the safety of people first. At the Kipeo research station, 10 kilometers from the administrative center, a young girl sits cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by animal behavior textbooks far beyond her years. 8-year-old. Amara Okafor has her father's focused brown eyes and her mother's determined chin. She carefully copies notes into a journal emblazoned with lion cubs on its cover. Amara. Her mother Grace appears in the doorway. Have you packed for tomorrow's field? Trip almost done. Mama Amara answers without looking up. Grace approaches, peering over her daughter's shoulder at complex diagrams of predator body language. Sweetheart, these are your father's research books. I'm trying to understand the lions everyone's afraid of. Amara explains, her pencil still moving across the page. Papa says they're not bad, just scared. Grace's expression softens with concern. Your father also says those particular lions are dangerous, and you're to stay far away from them. Promise. Amara finally looks up, her eyes containing a wisdom that often unsettles adults. I promise to be careful. That's not what I asked for, Grace says firmly. Before Amara can respond, the sound of a vehicle approaching draws their attention. Through the window, they see her father's Land Cruiser kicking up dust as it races toward the research station. Samuel bursts through the door moments later, his face tight with stress. They've given us 5 days, he announces to Grace. 5 days to find another solution before they kill the pride. Oh, Sam, Grace says, moving to embrace her husband. I'm so sorry. Amara rises from her nest of books. Papa, can I help with the lions? Samuel blinks, as if only now noticing his daughter's presence. For a moment, his expression shifts from distress to consideration. No, Grace interjects firmly. Absolutely not. It was just a thought, Samuel says quickly, though something in his eyes suggests otherwise. Of course, Amara will stay with the education group tomorrow, far from the eastern sector. At Lake Azizi, the watering hole has shrunk to half its normal size, a symptom of the drought gripping the region. As darkness falls, the 5 lions emerge from the surrounding brush. They move with predatory grace despite their increasingly visible ribs. Scar leads, his massive head swinging side to side, scanning for threats behind him. Nala, the oldest female, moves with deliberate precision, her ears constantly pivoting. The younger male, Targi, follows closely, while Zuri and Amara, the remaining females, protect the rear. They function with military precision, a unit forged in adversity. A fleet-footed Thompson's gazelle freezes at their approach, then bolts. Taji instinctively gives chase, but Scar's low growl stops him instantly. The lions aren't hunting gazelle tonight. They've detected the scent of humans. Half a kilometer away, a small team of rangers makes camp, preparing for tomorrow's early patrol. Unaware of the approaching danger, they laugh around a small cooking fire as they prepare their evening meal. John Mwangi, the team's senior tracker, suddenly stiffens. Listen, he whispers. The laughter dies immediately as everyone strains to hear. I don't hear anything begins. Esther, the youngest ranger. Exactly. John interrupts. No insects. No nightjars. The savannah has gone silent. Lorato reaches slowly for her rifle, form a circle, backs to the fire. The rangers comply instantly, their trained movements betraying only the slightest tremor of fear. For long minutes they stand in tense silence, peering into darkness. Their eyes can't penetrate. Maybe it was a leopard passing through, Patrick suggests, eventually his voice hushed. Maybe Lorato agrees, though she doesn't lower her weapon. But we maintain watches tonight, 2 awake at all times. They don't see the 5 pairs of eyes watching from the tall grass, assessing, calculating. The lions have learned patience, they've learned strategy. They withdraw silently into the night, but they don't go far. Morning breaks across the Serengeti with spectacular colors that belie the tension beneath. At the administrative center, a group of 20 school children from Weber Village gathers for their educational tour. Their excited chatter fills the air as they point at illustrations of wildlife on the visitor center walls. Amara stands slightly apart, watching a video monitor displaying live feeds from various parts of the reserve. Her attention fixes on one showing the eastern sector, lion territory. "Who's excited to see giraffes today?" ask Sarah and Lovu, the enthusiastic teacher charged with hearing the energetic children. A chorus of raised hands and cheerful affirmations follows, but Amara's eyes remain on the monitor. Samuel approaches, kneeling beside his daughter. "Remember your promise to your mother." "I know, Papa," Amara says. Finally, turning to him, "Stay with the group. No wonder wandering." Samuel studies her face, seeming to wrestle with something unspoken. The education route is completely safe. Director Chen has doubled the guide escorts because of the ghost pride, Amara asks. Innocently, though her eyes hold knowledge beyond her years. Samuel sigh. "Yes, but they're 5 kilometers east of your route, and they've never approached the tourist areas. They're not monsters, Papa." "No," Samuel agrees quietly. "They're not. They're survivors." The school group boards 2 specially modified safari vehicles, open-sided but with reinforced safety features. Amara climbs aboard the second vehicle, taking a seat at the very back. As they pull away, her father stands watching, a troubled expression clouding his features 6 kilometers away. Lotto's team has already begun their morning patrol. The night passed without incident, but tension has left them exhausted and irritable. "We can't continue like this," Esther says, scanning the horizon through binoculars, jumping at shadows, expecting an attack with every patrol. "The minister has authorized removal," John informs them, his voice carefully neutral. "Sharpshooters arrive Friday." Patrick shifts. Uncomfortably. Doesn't feel right. "These lions were peaceful for years. They've made their choice." Lorado states flatly, though her expression reveals more complexity, "Our job is to protect human life first." Movement at 2. Esther suddenly announces, "All 5 moving parallel to us, about 300 meners out." Lotto raises her own binoculars. The lions are clearly visible now, moving with purpose, their formations structured for attack. "They're hearing us," she realizes aloud, driving us toward the ravine where Daniel was ambushed. "We should call for the helicopter extraction." Patrick suggests, his hand moving to the radio. Lorado hesitates. Years of conservation instincts wearing with her duty to protect her team. "Not yet. We adjust course northwest toward the open plain. They won't attack without cover." The land cruiser changes direction, cutting across the savanna toward more exposed terrain. For several tense minutes, the lions maintain parallel course, watching, evaluating. "They're learning our tactics," John observes, grimly, adapting. Suddenly, Scar breaks into a sprint, not toward the vehicle but cutting across its path. The remaining lions fan out in a coordinated maneuver that leaves the rangers with only one escape route, directly into a stand of trees perfect for an ambush. Enough, Lorado decides, grabbing the radio command. "This is Ranger 1 requesting immediate helicopter support. We are being tactically engaged by the Ghost Pride at coordinates." As she relays their position, none of them notice the movement at the western perimeter of the reserve. The school tour vehicles have stopped for a mid-morning break, allowing the children to stretch their legs in a designated safe zone. In the momentary chaos of 20 excited children disembarking, no one immediately notices that their count has dropped to 19. Amara Okafor, her small backpack clutched tightly, slips away from the group and toward the destiny that awaits her. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The helicopter blades slice through morning air as pilot Michael Stevens responds to Lorado's urgent call. From his aerial vantage, he spots the RERS's vehicle surrounded by golden grass that provides perfect camouflage for the stalking lions. Visual confirmation of your situation. Ranger 1, Michael radios down. "I count all 5 members of the Ghost Pride in strategic positions around your vehicle below Lorado, and her team maintain their defensive formation. The Helicopter's arrival has paused the lions' advance but hasn't driven them away. Scar, the battle-scarred male, simply watches the aircraft with calculated indifference. They're not even running, Esther whispers, astonishment overriding her fear. Normal lions flee from helicopters. These stopped being normal lions months ago, John replies. Grimly, Michael brings the helicopter lower, executing the standard predator deterrent maneuvers that have reliably scattered lions for decades. Chichai Ghost Pride merely retreats to a safer distance, maintaining visual contact with the Rangers. I'm setting down 50 ambulars from your position. Michael announces transfer to the helicopter immediately. As the Rangers prepare to make their dash for extraction, a new radio call breaks through emergency at the western perimeter. Comes the panicked voice of Sarah and Lovu. We have a child missing from the school tour. Repeat, 8-year-old girl unaccounted for. Lorado freezes her blood running cold. Identification of the missing child. A moment of silence. Then Amara Okafor, Dr. Okafor's daughter. Across the reserve, Samuel receives the news in Director Chen's office. The color drains from his face as he grabs the radio. Where was she last seen? He demands, his professional composure shattered. She was in the second vehicle, Sarah responds, her voice trembling. We noticed her missing during the mid-M morning. Stop, her backpack is gone too. She planned this, Samuel whispers, more to himself than the others in the room. Director Chen is already mobilizing a search team, her efficiency masking. Her concern, all available personnel to the Western Education Zone aerial surveillance redirected immediately. The Ghost Pride was last spotted 6 kilometers east, moving toward the central Savannah Minister. OA points out. Dr. Bennett's eyes widen with sudden understanding that puts them directly between our search area and the lions. Samuel finishes, already rushing for the door. Amara moves with surprising confidence through the savannah, consulting a hand-drawn map she's pulled from her backpack. Unlike an adult, she makes herself small, crawling through tall grass when possible, minimizing her silhouette against the horizon. Her childish features are set with determination that borders on serenity. From her backpack, she removes a worn bee journal, filled with meticulous notes and drawings far beyond what one would expect from an 8-year-old. She consults a page labeled Lion Communication Signals. Before continuing forward, the distant sound of the helicopter causes her to pause, crouching lower. She knows they've discovered her absence by now. Her timeline has accelerated. Amara reaches a rocky outcropping that provides both shelter and a vantage point. Climbing carefully, she surveys the landscape through a pair of compact binoculars. Her small finger traces a path on her map, the probable location of the Ghost Pride based on Ranger radio reports she secretly monitored for weeks. At the research station, Grace Okafor paces frantically, clutching her phone as she waits for updates. The door bursts open as Elder Wami and Koi enters, his weathered face creased with concern. I came as soon as I heard, the village elder says. The searchers are combing the western quadrant. She's not there, Grace responds with certainty. She's gone. Looking for the lion's expression grows grave. Why would she do this? Even a child understands the danger. Grace moves to a shelf, pulling down a stack of Amara's drawings. Because of these, because she believes she understands something about them that others don't. The drawings reveal extraordinary detail. Lions in various postures with annotations about ear positions, tail movements, vocal tones. The insights blend scientific observation with an almost intuitive understanding of animal behavior. Samuel has been teaching her since she could hold a pencil. Grace explains, her voice breaking. But this obsession with the Ghost Pride started after the first attacks. She kept saying they were misunderstood. Studies. The drawings with new respect. In my village, we speak of those born with the knowing, children who understand the natural world in ways others cannot. She's just a little girl. Grace whispers, tears finally breaking through her composure. A little girl with an old soul, responds, gently, but even old souls can find themselves in danger beyond their understanding. The search intensifies as word spreads throughout the reserve. Samuel commandeers a vehicle, driving recklessly across terrain normally traversed with conservation-minded caution. His face is a mask of determined fear as he scans the horizon. Marcus Walsh, the veteran wildlife photographer who's been documenting the Ghost Pride, intercepts Samuel's vehicle. "I heard the radio chatter," the photographer says, climbing in. "I know these lions better than anyone except you, their patterns, territories." Samuel nods grimly, accepting the help without breaking his concentration. "If you were Amara, where would you go to find them?" Marcus consults his mental map. The lions were moving northwest after their encounter with Larado's team. If they maintain that direction, they'll intersect with the seasonal stream near the old baobab. That's 4 kilometers from where Amara went missing. Samuel calculates accelerating the vehicle. She couldn't cover that distance on foot already. Unless she had a head start, Marcus says quietly. How long has she been planning this? The question hangs unanswered as dust billows behind their speeding vehicle. The lions move with practiced coordination across the savannah, their pace unhurried but purposeful. Scar leads with Nala and Targi flanking him. Zuri and Amara maintain rear guard. Their gaunt frames tell the story of the drought. These are hungry predators fighting for survival. They pause at a shallow depression where water once flowed. Taji, the younger male, pours at the cracked earth, finding only dust. Nearby, a skeletal acacia stands witness to the changing climate that has pushed all creatures to desperation. Scar's head suddenly lifts, nostrils flaring. Something has caught his attention. A scent carried on the shifting breeze, his powerful muscles tense as he changes direction. The other lions instantly adjusting their formation to follow. Amara has reached the ancient baobab, its massive trunk providing temporary shelter from the intensifying midday sun. She uncaps, her water bottle taking a careful sip. Conservation learned from a lifetime in drought-prone regions, her small fingers trace the tree's deeply furrowed bark as she catches her breath. A sound stops her mid-motion, the subtle displacement of air that precedes a predator's approach. Turning slowly, she faces the direction of the noise. 50 meters away, emerging from a stand of thorn trees, comes Scar. The massive lion stops, golden eyes fixed on the small human figure. Behind him, the 4 lionesses appear like shadows spreading out in the hunting formation that has terrorized rangers for months. Amara doesn't run, doesn't scream. Instead, she carefully sets down her backpack and removes a small notebook. Her movements are deliberate, unhurried. She consults a specific page, then slowly assumes a posture unlike anything the lions have seen from humans before. She makes herself small eyes downcast, not in fear, but in deference. Her body language communicates something that contradicts everything the Ghost Pride has come to associate with humans. Back at headquarters, the operations room has transformed into crisis command. The feeds from drones and the helicopter project onto wall screens as Director Chen coordinates the search effort. I have a possible visual on the Ghost Pride moving towards Sector 5, comes the pilot's tense report. Approximately 3 kilometers from the last known position of the child, Samuel's voice breaks in over the radio. We're approaching Sector 5 from the south ETA, 6 minutes. The lions are moving faster than you are. Director Chen responds, her professionalism barely masking her dread. Helicopter is repositioning. To intercept Minister Oe, who has remained silent during the crisis, now speaks. Authorize the sharpshooters to deploy immediately. There's no time, Dr. Bennett counters. By the time they arrive, we use the helicopter. Oe decides pilot Stevens is certified for wildlife control. There are rifles on board. Director Chen hesitates only momentarily before nodding. Aerial team priority is child safety. You are authorized to use lethal force if the lions threaten the girl. The order dispatched. She turns to Dr. Bennett. How will they react to finding her if she runs? They'll chase, the behaviorist answers grimly. Predator instinct is triggered by flight. If she freezes, they might investigate before attacking. It could buy us minutes. And if she approaches them? Chen asks. Voicing the unthinkable, Dr. Bennett's scientific detachment falters. Then God help her. Near the baobab, the confrontation unfolds in primal silence. Scar has advanced to within 30 meters of Amara, close enough for the girl to see the matted fur around the facial scar that gives him his name. The lionesses have maintained their distance. Waiting for their leader's decision, Amara remains in her differential posture, but now makes a sound. Not a human sound of fear, but a soft exhalation through her nose that mimics a specific lion vocalization. It's the greeting sound young cubs make. When approaching dominant pride members, Scar stops his massive head tilting slightly in confusion. Slowly, with movements choreographed from a lifetime of observation, Amara shifts position. She turns her body sideways, making herself appear smaller, less threatening. Her eyes remain downcast, occasionally flicking up to observe the lion's response before lowering again. The tension stretches out for endless seconds. Then Scar does something unexpected. He sits on his hunches, still watching the child. But his posture has changed from hunt, ready to assessment. The sound of approaching vehicles breaks the moment. Scar rises instantly, a growl rumbling from his chest. The lionesses spread out again, preparing to defend against the human intrusion. Amara finally speaks, her voice carrying clearly across the savannah. No, stay back. Samuel's vehicle crests a rise 200 meters away, dust billowing behind it. He sees his daughter standing beneath the baobab tree, and the 5 lions arrayed around her. No, he moans, jamming the accelerator to the floor. Marcus grabs the dashboard for support. Samuel, wait. Look. Through his telephoto lens, the photographer has spotted what Samuel can't yet see clearly. The lions haven't attacked. They've formed a loose semicircle facing outward with Amara behind them. They're protecting her from us. Marcus whispers. In disbelief, the helicopter appears overhead, rotors drowning out all other sound. Michael Stevens positions the aircraft to create maximum deterrence, expecting the lions to scatter. Instead, the Ghost Pride holds position. Scar roars up at the helicopter, a sound so powerful it seems to vibrate the air itself. The lioness is pressed closer to Amara, who now stands with her arms outstretched, frantically signaling for the helicopter to back away. This is impossible. Marcus breathes, documenting everything through his camera. Samuel slams on the brakes, bringing the vehicle to a lurching stop at a distance that won't further provoke the lions. He raises his binoculars with trembling hands. What he sees defies everything he thought he knew about lion behavior. Amara isn't being threatened, she's being integrated. The pride's defensive formation has placed her at its center, the position normally reserved for cubs. The helicopter's agitating them. Samuel shouts over the den, grabbing the radio. Michael, pull back, I repeat, increase your distance, I have orders to extract the child. Comes the pilot's tense reply. She's not in immediate danger, Samuel insists. The pride's behavior it's protecting her. After a moment's hesitation, the helicopter rises and retreats to a higher altitude. As the noise diminishes, the lion's posture gradually relaxes. Scar settles back onto his haunches, his eyes never leaving the vehicle containing Samuel and Marcus. In this moment of relative calm, Amara slowly approaches the massive lion with movements that display absolute confidence. She extends her small hand towards Scar's mane. Samuel watches, heart in his throat, as his 8-year-old daughter touches the most dangerous lion in Africa, and the lion leans into her touch like a house pet seeking affection. My God. Marcus whispers his camera, capturing every impossible moment. What is happening? She's communicating with them. Samuel realizes. Scientific, understanding, battling parental terror. Somehow she's broken through. Over the radio, Director Chen's voice crackles with urgency. What's your status? Do you have visual on the child? Samuel raises the radio slowly, his eyes never leaving the scene. Before him we have visual. Amara she's with the lions, they're accepting her. A stunned silence follows before Chen responds, accepting how Samuel watches as Amara now sits cross-legged beside Scar. The other lioness is approaching to investigate, her with curious nudges rather than aggression, like she's part of their pride. He answers simply. The sun reaches its zenith over the Serengeti, casting harsh light on a tableau that defies explanation. A small human child surrounded by 5 of Africa's most feared predators, not as prey but as family. And in this extraordinary moment, the balance between 2 species teeters on the precipice of profound change. Tension crackles through the air as the standoff continues beneath the ancient baobab. Samuel hasn't moved from his position 200 meters away, afraid any approach might shatter the fragile peace. Through his binoculars, he watches his daughter sitting calmly among Africa's most feared predators. "I need to get closer," he whispers, lowering the binoculars. Marcus grips his arm, not in the vehicle. Engine noise triggers their defensive response. "She's my daughter, and right now she's safer than any human has ever been with those lions," Marcus responds, still photographing the scene. "Look at her body language, completely relaxed. She knows what she's doing." The radio crackles with Director Chen's voice. "Samuel, Minister Jose wants an immediate extraction plan. Tell him to wait." Samuel responds, not taking his eyes off Amara. Something unprecedented is happening here. The sharpshooter team is 20 minutes out. Chen continues, her voice taut. "Once they're in position, no sharpshooters," Samuel interrupts forcefully. "These lions aren't threatening her. They're accepting her." A new voice breaks in, "Dr. Bennett." "Samuel, can you describe exactly what you're seeing? Details matter." Samuel steadies his breathing, forcing himself into scientific observation mode. Despite his parental terror, the pride has formed a loose circle with Amara at the center. Their posture is alert, but not aggressive. Scar, the male, is allowing physical contact. The younger lionesses are displaying investigative behavior, not predatory. Impossible, comes Minister Owe's voice. "These same animals have actively hunted humans for months. I'm telling you what I'm seeing," Samuel insists. "My daughter is communicating with them somehow." Near the baobab, Amara continues her careful interactions with the ghost pride. Her movements remain deliberate, never sudden, never threatening. She speaks to them in a soft, melodic tone while maintaining the body language she studied from countless hours of observation. Targi, the younger male, approaches cautiously, his golden eyes fixed on the strange, small human. He sniffs at her backpack, whiskers twitching with curiosity. "Hello, Taji," Amara says softly, using the name she's assigned him in her observations. "You're hungry, aren't you? All of you are." She slowly unzips a side pocket of her backpack, removing a small pouch. The lions watch with intense focus as she withdraws dried meat bilong prepared in the traditional method. "It's just a taste," she explains, as if they understand her words, "to show I'm a friend." With careful movements, she places a piece on the ground before Taji, then retreats her hand. The young lion sniffs suspiciously before taking the offering. Scar watches this interaction with regal assessment. When Amara offers him a piece, he doesn't immediately accept. She places it halfway between them, neither forcing the interaction nor showing fear. After a long moment, the massive lion extends his neck and takes the dried meat, consuming it without taking his eyes from hers. Something passes between them, an unspoken understanding. In the operations room, the mood has shifted from crisis management to bewildered observation. The drone footage displays in high definition clarity what Samuel has described. A small child sitting among lions, feeding them by hand. "I've studied lion behavior for 30 years. Dr. Bennett says, her scientific certainty shaken. This shouldn't be possible. These animals were traumatized by human contact, conditioned to associate humans with threat." Director Chen stares at the footage, her practical mind struggling with the implications. Could it be because she's a child? Smaller, less threatening? Size alone wouldn't account for this level of acceptance, Dr. Bennett replies. There's something more happening here. Something about her specific approach. Minister Owe paces the room. Policy concerns, wearing with the wonder of what they're witnessing. Regardless of this anomaly, we can't risk a child's life on the temporary docility of proven man-eaters who haven't harmed a hair on her head. Dr. Bennett counters, pointing to the screen where Amara now gently examines Nala's injured paw, a festering wound that might explain some of the lioness's aggression. Grace Opor enters the operations room, her face pale but composed. Elder Wame follows closely behind. "Show me," she demands, and Director Chen immediately guides her to the main monitor. Grace gasps at the image of her daughter surrounded by lions. But Wame's weathered face shows something closer to understanding. The knowing, he murmurs. Just as I suspected. What do you mean, Grace asks, not taking her eyes from the screen. Some children are born with the ability to speak without words to the creatures around them, explains. In the old days, they became healers and guides. Today, they are often misunderstood. Dr. Bennett approaches scientific curiosity overcoming skepticism. You're describing some form of intuitive interspecies communication. I am describing what you are seeing with your own eyes. Quaim replies simply, at the baobab, Amara has begun examining each lion in turn, her small hands moving with gentle confidence over their massive forms. She pays particular attention to old injuries, Scar's facial wound, Nala's infected paw, a partially healed gash on Imara's flank. They're all hurt, she calls, out her voice carrying to where Samuel waits. That's why they're so angry. Samuel cups his hands around his mouth. Stay calm, sweetheart. I'm coming to you. No vehicles. Amara responds immediately. They don't like the engines. Samuel glances at Marcus, who nods in confirmation. I'll approach on foot. Samuel decides, opening his door. That's suicide. Marcus argues, though without much conviction. The scene before them defies all conventional wisdom about lion behavior. She's my daughter, Samuel says simply and begins walking slowly across the savannah. The lions notice his approach immediately. Scar rises to his feet, a rumbling growl emerging from his chest. The lionesses form a protective barrier between the approaching man and Amara. It's okay, Amara tells the lions, her voice calm and assured. That's my papa. He helps animals too. She demonstrates by waving to Samuel, showing the lions that she welcomes his presence. Their posture remains alert, but doesn't escalate to aggression. Move very slowly, Amara instructs her father. Don't look directly at Scar. It challenges him. Samuel follows her instructions precisely, angling his body sideways as he approaches, eyes downcast. He studied lion behavior his entire career. But watching his daughter apply this knowledge with such intuitive precision fills him with wonder and terror in equal measure. When he reaches the edge of the pride's comfort zone about 10 meters from Amara, he stops, crouching low, to appear less threatening. Are you all right? He asks, his voice carefully modulated. I'm fine, Papa. Amara responds with the casual confidence of childhood. They were never going to hurt me, they just needed someone to understand. What do you mean? Amara gestures to the lions surrounding her. Look at them, really look. They're starving because the drought drove their prey away. They're injured from poachers' traps and they associate rangers with pain because when they were captured for health assessments last year, the tranquilizers hurt them. Samuel absorbs this assessment, recognizing the truth in it. The Ghost Pride's territory had been severely impacted by the drought. Their aggression toward rangers had begun shortly after a conservation initiative that involved capturing and radio collaring several Pride members. How did... You know all this? He asked softly. I listened. Amara says simply, when you and Dr. Bennett talked when the rangers gave reports. And I watched them every chance I got. They're not monsters, Papa. They're just scared and hungry. The helicopter circles overhead, maintaining distance but keeping visual contact. In the operations room, the team watches the unfolding scene with amazement as Samuel cautiously joins his daughter among the lions. I want continuous recording of everything Director Chen instructs. What we're witnessing could revolutionize predator management protocols, assuming they don't revert to aggression without warning. Minister Owe notes darkly. Dr. Bennett shakes her head. Lions don't have the capacity for that kind of deception. If they're accepting human presence now, something fundamental has shifted in their perception. Grace watches the monitor with hands clasped so tightly, her knuckles have widened. What happens now? They can't stay out there indefinitely. The question is whether this connection Amara has established will transfer to others, Dr. Bennett muses. Or is it unique to her? Kami has been watching silently, his ancient eyes taking in every detail. The child has opened a door. Whether others can walk through it remains to be seen. Back at the Baobab, Samuel has gradually been allowed closer to Amara and now sits beside her, though the lions maintain a watchful vigilance over his every movement. They need medical attention, Amara explains, pointing to Nala's infected paw. Especially her. That's why she's been so aggressive. She's in pain all the time. Samuel nods. Professional. Assessment confirming his daughter's diagnosis. The infection looks severe. Without treatment, she might lose the paw. Can Dr. Thomas help them? Amara asks, referring to the reserve's veterinarian. It would require a sedation. Samuel explains gently. After their experiences, I don't think they'd allow that. Amara considers this problem, her young face serious with concentration. What if I stay with them while they're treated so they know they're safe? Samuel stares at his daughter, torn between professional admiration and parental concern. Amara, what you've done today is miraculous. But these are still wild predators. Their behavior can change in an instant. No, Papa, she insists with childlike certainty. They trust me now and they'll trust the people I trust. She demonstrates by standing slowly and walking towards Zuri, the middle-aged lioness, who has remained most weary. With gentle movements, Amara places her hand on the lioness's head, then motions for Samuel to join her. Move exactly like I do. She instructs. Samuel follows her lead, mirroring her body language precisely. When he extends his hand towards Zuri, the lioness growls softly, but allows the contact after Amara makes a specific sound, a reassuring rumble deep in her throat that approximates lion communication. How did you learn to do that? Samuel asks, amazed. I listened to the recordings in your study. Amara explains over and over until I could make the sounds too. The revelation strikes Samuel with its simplicity. While the research team had analyzed lion vocalizations scientifically, categorizing and measuring, his daughter had approached them as language to be learned. Papa, Amara says, her voice suddenly urgent. They need water. Real water. Not just the little bit. I brought. The drought has dried up all their usual places. Samuel sees the truth of this. In the lion's gaunt frames, there's water at the conservation station 5 kilometers from here. If we could lead them there, they'll follow me. Amara states with absolute confidence. Samuel raises the radio, his voice steady, despite the audacity of what he's about to propose. Director Chen, I have a plan, but it requires postponing any intervention by the sharpshooter team. Explain. Comes Chen's cautious response. Amara has established trust with the pride. They're severely dehydrated and require medical attention for infected wounds. We believe they'll follow her to the Eastern Conservation Station. A long silence follows before Chen responds. You want to lead 5 aggressive lions directly to one of our facilities. The aggression appears to be situational, Samuel argues, related to pain, hunger, and perceived threats. In Amara's presence, they're displaying normal, even docile behavior. And if that changes halfway there, Samuel looks at his daughter, who nods encouragingly. Then we abort and withdraw, but I don't think it will. After another pause, Chen's voice returns. Minister Oe has concerns, but he's authorizing a limited trial. The conservation station will be evacuated except for essential medical personnel. Helicopter support will maintain visual contact throughout. Understood. Samuel acknowledges. We'll begin shortly. Please have Dr. Reynolds prepare for treating multiple infected wounds. He turns to Marcus, who has maintained his distance while photographing the extraordinary scene. We'll need your help. The vehicle will follow at a distance close enough to reach us quickly if needed, but far enough not to spook the lions. Marcus nods, his photojournalist's objectivity temporarily overcome by the historical significance of what he's witnessing. Whatever you need, Amara has already begun preparing the lions, gathering her few belongings while maintaining constant communication with them through touch, sound, and body language. Her movements show a confidence that belies her years. We should name them properly, she tells her father. Not just Scar. That's not respectful. What would you call him? Samuel asks, watching the massive lion respond to his daughter's gentle touch. Amara considers, then answers with certainty. Jabari. It means brave one in Swahili. Jabari. Samuel repeats, watching as the lion's ears pivot toward the sound, and the others. Nala can keep her name. It suits her. The young male is Taji Crown. The protective female is Zuri Beautiful, and the youngest is Amara Strength. Samuel marvels at his daughter's connection to these creatures. A connection that transcends science, that borders on the spiritual understanding. Wayne had described, with preparations complete. Amara stands before the newly named Jabari, her small frame dwarfed by his massive presence. "We are going to find water," she tells him, as if he understands her words. Perhaps Samuel thinks on some level he does. "And people who can help your pride get better, you need to trust me and follow." She begins walking slowly and confidently in the direction of the conservation station. Samuel follows a few paces behind, his scientific mind racing to document and understand what is happening. For a tense moment, the lions remain by the baobab, watching. Then Jabari rises and begins to follow Amara. One by one, the lionesses fall into formation behind him. "It's working." Samuel breathes into the radio. They're following, maintaining approximately 15 meters of distance. In the operations room, the assembled staff watch in stunned silence as the drone camera shows the unbelievable procession. A small girl leading 5 fully grown lions across the savannah, like a modern-day parable come to life. "I've never seen anything like this," Dr. Bennett whispers, her scientific skepticism finally giving way to wonder. Grace watches with tears streaming down her face, terror and pride wearing within her. "That's my baby girl." "No," Wayne corrects gently. "That is a child of 2 worlds building a bridge between them." The afternoon sun casts long shadows as the unusual procession makes its way across the drought-stricken landscape. Amara walks with unwavering purpose occasionally, glancing back to ensure the lions continue to follow. Samuel maintains his position between his daughter and the pride, ready to intervene if necessary, though the lions show no signs of reverting to aggression overhead. The helicopter keeps pace, while Marcus follows in the vehicle at a respectful distance. Across the radio network, word spreads throughout the reserve. Something miraculous is happening on the path to the Eastern Conservation Station. Rangers, researchers, and staff gather at a safe distance to witness the approach. Among them stands Dr. Thomas Reynolds, the reserve veterinarian, his face showing the professional concern of someone about to treat 5 dangerous predators under unprecedented circumstances. Lorato watches. From the perimeter, her rifle lowered but ready. "I never thought I'd see them again except through a scope," she admits to Daniel, who stands beside her, his bandaged arm a reminder of the pride's former aggression. "Do you think it will last?" Daniel asks quietly. This piece, Lorato's eyes follow Amara's small figure leading creatures that had nearly killed her colleagues. "I don't know, but today has already rewritten everything. We thought we knew about them." As the conservation station comes into view, Amara stops, turning to address the lions directly. They halt, watching her with focused attention. "There are more people ahead," she tells them, gesturing toward the facility. "They won't hurt you, they want to help." Samuel marvels at his daughter's composure. "How do you know they understand you?" he asks softly. Amara looks up at him, her eyes wise beyond her ears. "Because they're listening. Papa. Really listening. Maybe for the first time." And as the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, casting golden light across the savannah, the lions follow Amara toward healing and toward a new chapter in the relationship between humans and the wild creatures with whom they share the earth. The Eastern Conservation Station bustles with controlled urgency as staff prepare for their unprecedented patients. Dr. Thomas Reynolds directs the setup of outdoor treatment, area's standard veterinary protocol adapted for this extraordinary situation. Wire enclosures normally used for quarantine have been modified to create temporary holding spaces where the lions can recover from sedation. "I still can't believe we're doing this," Thomas mutters to his assistant, checking medication dosages a 3rd time. "These animals nearly killed Daniel, and now they're following an 8-year-old girl to get medical care." His assistant responds, shaking her head in wonder. "If I wasn't seeing it on the monitors, I wouldn't believe it." Director Chen emerges from the station's main building. Minister Oe, close behind the government official's face, remains a mask of professional skepticism, though the drone footage has shaken even his certainty. "The tranquilizer team is in position," Chen informs them. "If anything goes wrong, we can immobilize all 5 lions within 30 seconds. Let's hope that won't be necessary." Thomas responds, his veterinary instincts already prioritizing the animal's welfare. Despite his concerns, repeated sedation can be hard on their systems, especially in their malnourished state. A radio call interrupts their conversation, visual contact established. The Pride is approaching the eastern perimeter. ETA, 5 minutes. Staff members move to their designated positions, a mixture of anticipation and apprehension evident in their tense postures. Lorado positions her ranger team at strategic points, their rifles loaded with tranquilizer darts rather than bullets. A tentative vote of confidence in Amara's connection with the lions. From the facility's observation platform, Grace watches with Eldecame beside her, her hand clutched tightly in his weathered grip. She's really doing it, Grace whispers as the first figures appear on the horizon. Amara walking steadily, Samuel close behind, and the 5 lions following at a respectful distance. The child hears what the animals are saying. Kame responds quietly. A gift passed down through generations in many cultures, though rarely seen in these modern times. Dr. Bennett joins them, her scientific curiosity piqued by Wame's perspective. You believe this is an inherited trait, something genetic, not inherited like the color of eyes clarifies, more like a sensitivity that awakens in some children. In my village, we would have recognized it early and nurtured it. In your world of science, it often goes unnoticed. As the unusual procession approaches the station's borders, Amara stops, turning to address the lions directly. Staff members watch through binoculars as she gestures toward the facility, appearing to explain what will happen next. Is she briefing them? Thomas asks incredulously. That's exactly what she's doing. Dr. Bennett confirms, fascination overriding her professional detachment, and they're responding to it. Through the radio they hear Samuel's voice. We're ready to enter the compound. Please ensure all non-essential personnel maintain their distance. Any sudden movements or loud noises could disrupt the Pride's trust. Director Chen acknowledges, then addresses the assembled staff. Remember your training. Slow movements. No direct eye contact with the lions. Dr. Reynolds' team has priority access. Once the animals are situated, Amara leads the Pride through the open gate, her small frame projecting remarkable confidence. The lions follow, their powerful muscles tensed with alertness but showing no signs of aggression. Staff members watch in astonished silence as creatures that had been the reserve's greatest threat now walk calmly into their midst. As they reach the central courtyard, Amara guides the lions toward the prepared treatment area. Water has been provided in large, shallow troughs, a critically needed resource in the drought-stricken region. Jabari approaches the water first, his initial caution giving way to desperate thirst. The lionesses follow, lapping eagerly while maintaining vigilant awareness of their surroundings. They're severely dehydrated, Thomas observes, making notes on his tablet consistent with the drought conditions in their territory. Their body condition is poor. Dr. Bennett adds, probably haven't had a successful large kill in weeks. Minister Oe watches the scene with growing amazement. These are the same animals that have been terrorizing our rangers. They look half-starved. Desperation makes predators take risks, Samuel explains, joining the officials while Amara remains with the lions. The drought pushed their natural prey out of their territory. Hunger made them aggressive. Pain from injuries made them dangerous. And somehow your daughter understood all of this. OC questions. Still skeptical despite the evidence before his eyes, Samuel watches Amara as she gently examines Nala's infected paw, the lioness allowing the contact with surprising docility. She listened when others just observed. She saw individuals where we saw statistics. Thomas approaches cautiously, medical kit in hand, guided by Samuel's instructions to move slowly and avoid direct eye contact with the lions. I need to sedate them for proper treatment, the veterinarian explains, quietly starting with the female with the infected paw. Amara nods, then speaks to Nala in soft tones, her hand resting reassuringly on the lioness's shoulder. Thomas marvels at the animal's acceptance of his approach. Behavior completely contrary to normal lion responses to veterinary intervention. She'll understand what's happening if you explain it, Amara tells him with childlike certainty. Thomas exchanges a skeptical glance with Samuel, who nods encouragingly. All right, The veterinarian begins awkwardly, feeling slightly foolish, addressing a lion directly. I need to give you medicine for your paw. It will make you sleep for a little while so I can clean the wound properly. To his astonishment, Nala maintains eye contact with him, showing attentiveness rather than aggression. The injection will sting briefly. Thomas continues preparing the tranquilizer, but then the pain will stop. Amara positions herself near Nala's, head gently stroking the lioness's ears as Thomas carefully administers the sedative. The other lions watch attentively, but make no move to interfere. A behavior pattern that defies everything. Thomas knows about pride dynamics. This is unprecedented. Dr. Bennett whispers to Director Chen lions are intensely protective of pride members. They should be challenging any perceived threat to an injured female. They trust Amara. Chen replies simply, and by extension, they're trusting us. As the sedative takes effect, Nala gradually succumbs, her massive body easing to the ground. Thomas immediately begins examining the infected paw, while his team prepares surgical tools and antibiotics. The infection is severe. He reports probing the wound carefully. There's a foreign object embedded deep in the pad. Looks like a metal fragment, possibly from a poacher's snare. That would explain her aggression. Samuel notes. She's been walking on an extremely painful injury for months. Amara moves to comfort Jabari, who watches the procedure with visible concern. Her small hand disappears into his mane as she whispers reassurances. The massive lion leans into her touch, displaying a gentleness that seems impossible, given his fearsome reputation. We'll need to treat them all, Thomas says, extracting a jagged metal shard from Nala's paw. Their malnutrition alone puts them at risk, and I'm seeing evidence of multiple injuries. For the next 3 hours, the medical team works methodically, sedating each lion. In turn, with Amara's assistance, Jabari's facial scar reveals a deeper infection than initially assumed. Taji has multiple healed puncture wounds, consistent with territorial fights. Zuri requires dental work for a cracked canine that has been causing pain with every bite. Amara shows signs of having recently nursed cubs. Cubs? Samuel questions sharply, looking to Amara for confirmation. She had 3, Amara explains, her face shadowed with sadness, but they didn't survive the drought. That's why she's so thin. She was still trying to produce milk when there wasn't enough food. Samuel crouches beside his daughter. How do you know this? She told me, Amara says simply. In another context, this might be dismissed as a child's imagination. But after witnessing Amara's extraordinary connection with these animals, even the scientists find themselves reconsidering the boundaries of animal-human communication. As sunset approaches, all 5 lions rest in the recovery enclosures, sedated but stable. Thomas reviews their charts with satisfaction. They should make full recoveries with proper nutrition and medication. The antibiotics will need to be administered for at least 10 days, possibly longer for Nala and Jabari. How do you propose to do that? Minister Osi asks practically. Once the sedation wears off, their behavior may revert. All eyes turn to Amara, who sits outside Jabari's enclosure, watching the rise and fall of his massive chest. They'll take medicine from me, she states with absolute confidence. They understand it makes them feel better. Samuel places a protective hand on his daughter's shoulder. We can't expect Amara to handle this responsibility alone. She's just, oh child, of course not. Director Chen agrees quickly. But her connection provides an opportunity to establish a new paradigm for managing these animals. If we can maintain the trust she's initiated, we might rehabilitate them fully. Minister Oss nods thoughtfully. The alternative was elimination. If there's a possibility of rehabilitation, we should pursue it with all appropriate safety measures, he adds firmly. As the meeting concludes, Marcus approaches with his camera. The international media is already picking up the story from social media leaks. We have an opportunity to control the narrative, if you're willing to make an official statement. Director Chen considers this carefully. A child approaching dangerous lions isn't a story we want to encourage others to replicate, but a story about understanding animal behavior, addressing root causes of human-wildlife conflict, and finding non-lethal solutions to predator management. That's a story worth telling. Marcus counters. Night falls over the conservation station, stars emerging in the velvet blackness of the African sky. Most staff have departed for their quarters, leaving only essential personnel to monitor the sedated lions. Samuel finds Amara still sitting outside Jabari's enclosure, unwilling to leave, despite her obvious exhaustion. "Time for you to rest too," he says gently, kneeling beside her. "I need to be here when he wakes up." Amara insists he'll be confused, maybe scared. Samuel studies his daughter's face in the soft glow of the security lights. "How did you know, Amara? How did you know they wouldn't hurt you?" She considers the question with surprising maturity. "I watched them for months through your observation cameras. They never attacked without reason when rangers entered their territory with loud vehicles and equipment that reminded them of being captured before they defended themselves, but they'd injured people." Samuel points out, "They were classified as man-eaters." Amara shakes her head firmly. "They never ate anyone, Papa. They attacked to stop what they thought was a threat, then withdrew. Real man-eaters would have killed and consumed their targets." The scientific precision of her analysis startled Samuel. He's discussed these technical distinctions with colleagues but never imagined his 8-year-old daughter was absorbing these concepts. "Even so, approaching them alone was dangerous," he says softly. "Your mother and I were terrified." "I wasn't alone," Amara replies simply. "They were with me." In her child's perspective, Samuel glimpses a profound truth that his years of scientific training have perhaps obscured that humans exist not in opposition to the natural world, but as part of its intricate web. A soft growl interrupts their conversation. Jabari is awakening, his massive head lifting as sedation gradually releases its hold. The lion's golden eyes find Amara, immediately recognition evident in his alert gaze. "See," Amara whispers. He remembers. At dawn, the conservation station stirs to life as staff return to check on their unusual patients. To everyone's astonishment, all 5 lions remain calm in their recovery enclosures, accepting water and medication with surprising docility. Dr. Bennett observes from a research platform, documenting every interaction. They're displaying behaviors typically only seen with lions raised in captivity from birth. Yet these are wild animals with a history of human aggression. Not aggression, Amara corrects, overhearing as she passes with fresh water. Protection. There's a difference. The child's perspective causes Dr. Bennett to reassess her notes, striking out certain terminology and replacing it with more nuanced descriptions. Grace approaches Director Chen as they watch the morning's activities unfold. "We need to discuss what happens next. Amara should return to school, resume normal childhood activities." Of course, Chen agrees readily. "We never intended for her to become the lion's permanent caretaker, but she's become exactly that." Grace points out concern evident in her voice. "You've seen how they respond to her versus others. She feels responsible for them now." Their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of a sleek government vehicle. Minister Oy emerges accompanied by several official-looking individuals in business attire. The International Conservation Federation representatives. Chen explains to Grace. They've requested an emergency assessment of our situation. The delegation approaches with professional curiosity, led by Maria. Gonzalez, a respected figure in global conservation circles. "We've reviewed the preliminary reports," Maria begins after introductions. "Frankly, they seemed unbelievable. Until we saw the video footage, a child establishing peaceful contact with lions that had previously attacked humans. It contradicts everything we know about predator rehabilitation." Director Chen gestures toward the treatment area where the lions rest in their enclosures, Amara moving freely among them. Yet there it is visible, proof that our understanding has been incomplete. The delegation observes in silence, their expression shifting from skepticism to wonder, as Amara demonstrates her connection. Helping Thomas clean Jabari's facial wound without restraints, the massive lion accepting the treatment with surprising patience. This changes the equation for predator management throughout Africa. Maria acknowledges finally, if these lions can be rehabilitated rather than destroyed, it establishes a valuable precedent. A Minister Oe, ever practical, interjects, the question remains, what happens when the child isn't present? Can others maintain this connection she's established? It's a question that hangs in the air unanswered, but pressing. As remarkable as Amara's, achievement has been a sustainable solution cannot depend solely on the presence of one small girl. Later that morning, Samuel and Dr. Bennett meet with the delegation in the station's conference room, presenting their analysis of the situation. Lions' aggression stemmed from multiple factors. Samuel explains displaying images on a large screen, severe drought conditions pushing prey species from their territory, injuries caused by poachers' snares creating constant pain. Previous negative. Experiences with ranger vehicles and equipment. Essentially a perfect storm of adverse conditions. Dr. Bennett adds, what Amara intuitively recognized and what we failed to see was that their behavior represented a rational response to perceived threats, not random aggression. Maria leans forward, intrigued. And your proposed solution, a three-part approach, Samuel outlines. First, immediate veterinary intervention for their injuries, which is already underway. Second, supplemental feeding until the drought breaks and natural prey returns to their territory. Third, and most importantly, a complete revision of how ranger patrols interact with known lion territories. A shift from confrontation to coexistence. Dr. Bennett elaborates, using Amara's techniques as a foundation, we're developing new protocols for lion management throughout the reserve. Outside the conference room in the bright African morning, Amara sits cross-legged near the recovery enclosures reading aloud from a book about lion behavior. The 5 predators watch her with focused attention, their previous aggression replaced by something that remarkably resembles trust. Marcus captures the scene with his camera, documenting a moment that represents not just the salvation of 5 lions, but potentially a transformation in how humans and predators might share an increasingly fragile planet. They understand more than we think, Amara tells him without looking up from her book. They always have. We just weren't listening the right way. And in that simple observation from a child, possibilities unfold that even the most seasoned conservation experts had never considered, that the path to coexistence might begin not with more sophisticated technology or stricter protections, but with the willingness to listen and understand across the boundaries that separate species. Morning light bathes the conservation station as activity centers around the recovery enclosures. 3 days have passed since the lions' arrival, and their improvement is remarkable. Nala's infected paw shows healthy granulation tissue. Jabari's facial wound has begun to heal cleanly. All 5 animals have responded well to rehydration and carefully planned nutrition. Their recovery rate exceeds all expectations, Thomas tells Director Chen during morning rounds. Physically, they're already significantly improved. And behaviorally, Chen asks, watching as Amara sits reading near the enclosures, the lion's attention fixed on her with what can only be described as affection. That's the true miracle, Thomas admits. They're accepting treatment from my team even when Amara steps away briefly. It's as if her presence has fundamentally altered their perception of humans. Dr. Bennett approaches with her tablet displaying the latest behavioral data. We've been systematically testing how far this transformation extends. The lions now allow all medical staff full access. They're cautious but not aggressive with ranger personnel in non-threatening postures. They still show weariness toward unfamiliar individuals. So the trust is transferring, but selectively. Chen summarizes exactly and most remarkably, it appears to be sustaining even during periods when Amara is absent. Yesterday afternoon, she returned to the administrative center with her mother for 3 hours. The lions remained calm throughout. This news brings visible relief to Chen's expression that addresses our primary concern that we'd be creating dependency on a child for dangerous predator management. Their discussion is interrupted by the arrival of a dusty Land Cruiser. Benjamin Carter emerges, the British tourist who had been injured in the Ghost Pride's final attack before Amara's intervention. His arm remains in a sling, his face still bearing healing scratches. His wife, Elizabeth, and 10-year-old son, Noah, follow more hesitantly. Mr. Carter, Director Chen greets him with professional caution. We weren't expecting you back at the reserve, I insisted. Benjamin responds, his English accent crisp despite the lingering effects of trauma. When I heard what happened with these lions, that they're being rehabilitated rather than destroyed, I had to see for myself. Chen exchanges concerned glances with Thomas and Dr. Bennett. I understand your interest, but these animals are still recovering. Any confrontation could. I'm not here for confrontation. Benjamin interrupts, his expression surprisingly calm. I'm here for understanding. Noah steps forward, his young face earnest. Is it true that a girl my age made friends with the lions that hurt my dad? Dr. Bennett crouches to address the boy at eye level. Not exactly friends, Noah, but she helped us understand why they were behaving aggressively. They were injured and afraid. Like when our dog Max bit the neighbor after he got his paw caught in the fence, Noah suggests, showing perceptive insight. Very similar. Bennett agrees, impressed by the comparison. Elizabeth Carter approaches her husband, placing a gentle hand on his uninjured arm. Ben's been following every update since Marcus Walsh's photographs went viral. He's reconsidered his initial demand for the lions to be destroyed. Benjamin nods, his expression complex. I've spent my career in wildlife conservation finance. I should have recognized the signs of environmental stress rather than labeling them as simply dangerous rogues. Director. Chen studies him carefully before coming to a decision. Would you like to observe them from a safe distance, of course? When Benjamin nods, Chen leads the Carter family to the observation platform overlooking the recovery area. From this vantage point, they can clearly see Amara as she assists Thomas with changing Jabari's facial bandage. The massive lion sitting perfectly still throughout the procedure. Extraordinary. Benjamin breathes, watching through binoculars. I never imagined they could behave this way. Noah watches with the open fascination of childhood. She's not afraid at all because she understands them. Comes a voice from behind. Samuel approaches, extending his hand to Benjamin. Dr. Samuel Okafor. Amara is my daughter. Benjamin shakes his hand firmly. Your daughter has changed everything about how I view these animals 3 weeks ago. I was calling for their destruction. Now I see them differently. Samuel's expression remains cautious. They were still responsible for your injuries. No one minimizes that trauma. True, Benjamin acknowledges, gesturing to his healing wounds. But I've had time to reflect. I ventured too close to their territory during a guided walk. Despite warnings about their recent aggression, I was determined to get photographs. My arrogance contributed to what happened. Below them, Amara completes her assistance with Jabari and moves to Nala's enclosure. The once aggressive lioness greets her with a gentle headbutt that nearly knocks the small girl over, though Amara merely laughs in response. How did she know? Elizabeth asks softly. How did she know they wouldn't hurt her? Samuel considers the question that has dominated his thoughts since that extraordinary moment beneath the baobab tree. Amara has always had an unusual connection with animals. Since she was very young, she could approach creatures that would flee from others. We attributed it to her size, her patience, her stillness. But what happened with these lions transcends simple explanation. My grandfather would say she has the old knowing, offers Aisha, a young ranger in training who has joined them on the platform. In our traditions, certain children are born with the ability to bridge the gap between human understanding and animal consciousness. An interesting cultural perspective, Dr. Bennett comments, her scientific mindset softening in the face of what she's witnessed. Though from a behavioral standpoint, what we're seeing is Amara's intuitive application of perfect species, appropriate communication techniques. Samuel smiles, slightly. Sometimes the scientific explanation and the traditional one are merely different languages describing the same truth. Noah has been listening intently to this adult conversation. Could I meet her? He asked suddenly, the girl who talks to lions. The adults exchange glances, silently evaluating the appropriateness of the request. Finally, Samuel nods. I think Amara would like that. It might be good for her to spend time with someone her own age after all this intensity. 20 minutes later, a carefully orchestrated introduction takes place at a safe distance from the lion enclosures. Amara and Noah regard each other with the direct curiosity of childhood, quickly finding common ground in their shared interest in animals. Did you really just walk right up to them when they were wild? Noah asks, his voice hushed with admiration. They were never just wild. Amara corrects thoughtfully. They were hurt and scared. There's a difference. Weren't you afraid they might eat you? Amara shakes her head with absolute certainty. Lions don't want to eat people. That's just in movies. They only attack when they feel threatened or they're starving and desperate. My dad said they nearly killed him. They stopped once. He wasn't moving anymore. Amara points out real man-eaters would have continued the attack. Jabari and his pride were just trying to protect their territory because they thought your dead was a threat. Noah considers this perspective. His young face serious. Could I see them not? Close like you. But just to look at them properly, Amara nods, leading him to a viewing area where they can observe the lions from a protected position. The adults maintain a watchful distance, allowing the children this moment of connection. That's Jabari, Amara explains, pointing to the male lion basking in a patch of sunlight. He was the leader even before they left their original pride. The big female with the bandaged paw is Nala. She was in the most pain from the metal in her foot. That's why she was so aggressive. Noah listens with rapt attention as Amara introduces each lion, explaining their personalities and histories with the familiarity one might use when discussing old friends. Why did they trust you when they attacked? Everyone else, he finally Amara considers this question carefully, I think. Because I didn't approach them like they were monsters. I saw they were suffering and needed help. Animals can sense when you're afraid of them or when you respect them. It's a simple explanation that nonetheless captures a profound truth. One that the watching adults recognize might hold the key to transforming wildlife management practices throughout the reserve and beyond. Later that afternoon, Minister Jose returns for a formal assessment accompanied by Tobias Langley, a British big game hunter who has vocally advocated for eliminating problem predators. Minister, with respect, rehabilitation is costly and uncertain. Langley argues as they tour the facility. These animals have killed before. They'll likely kill again once released. They haven't killed anyone. Samuel corrects firmly, joining the conversation. They injured 4 rangers and 1 tourist, all of whom have recovered. Semantics. Langley dismisses. With a wave, the point remains. Predators that associate humans with food sources become permanently dangerous. These lions never saw humans as food. Dr. Bennett interjects. Their aggression was territorial and defensive, exacerbated by pain from injuries and competition for diminishing resources due to drought, a distinction without a difference to their next victim. Langley retorts. Minister Owe raises his hand, silencing the debate. I've come to see the evidence firsthand before making my final determination regarding these animals. They approach the treatment area where Amara is helping the veterinary team prepare the lion's afternoon medication. Each capsule is carefully hidden in a piece of meat administered by hand to ensure proper dosage. The child is still integral to their management, Langley points out. What happens when she's not present? We've been systematically expanding the circle of humans they accept. Thomas explains, my entire medical team can now work with them directly. Certain rangers can approach in non-threatening postures. We're documenting every step of this transition. Minister Owe watches thoughtfully as Amara demonstrates proper hand-feeding technique to a nervous assistant. The international attention has been significant. Over 30 million views of Walsh's photographs online, requests for interviews from global media outlets. An opportunity to showcase Tanzania's leadership in progressive conservation, Samuel suggests, or a dangerous precedent that encourages others to approach dangerous predators. Langley counters their discussion is interrupted by an unexpected development. Noah Carter has approached the viewing area again, this time with his father Benjamin beside him. Amara, spotting them, waves in friendly greeting the tourist who was attacked. Thomas explains quietly to Minister Owe. He returned today to observe the rehabilitation process. O's eyebrows rise in surprise. The same man who initially demanded these animals be destroyed. The same Samuel confirms. His perspective has evolved considerably. This fact seems to impact the minister. More than any scientific data presented, he watches as Benjamin Carter observes the lions with intense focus. His injured arm, a testament to their capacity for violence. Yet his presence here acknowledging the possibility of their redemption. I'd like to speak with Mr. Carter. Owe decides alone. The conversation takes place on the observation deck overlooking the entire conservation station. Whatever Benjamin shares during those 20 minutes appears to profoundly affect the minister when they return. Away's decision seems finalized. The rehabilitation program will continue with full government support, he announces to the assembled staff. The lions will remain here until medically cleared, then be relocated to a protected sector of their original territory once the drought conditions improve. Relief cascades through the team, though Langley's disappointment is evident in his rigid posture as he departs without further comment. "What did you tell him?" Samuel asks Benjamin quietly. As the meeting disperses, the British conservationist smiles slightly. "The truth that watching those lions through binoculars today, I saw something I never expected to see: animals capable of forgiveness and change, if they can transcend their fear of humans after what they've experienced. Perhaps we can transcend our fear of them." As evening approaches, a soft rain begins to fall. The first substantial precipitation in nearly 5 months. Staff members gather outside, faces turned upward to receive the life-giving moisture that might signal the drought's end. Amara stands at the edge of the recovery enclosure, palm extended to catch raindrops. The lions watch the falling water. With evident interest, Jabari's powerful nose testing the rain-freshened air. "It's raining on your territory too," Amara tells them. "Soon there will be grass again and the zebra and wildebeest will return." Dr. Bennett, overhearing, crouches beside her. "You understand what this means for them, don't you? Once they're fully recovered, and the drought breaks, they'll be returning to the wild." Amara nods, her expression a complex mixture of joy and sadness that seems beyond her years. "That's where they belong. They were never meant to stay here." "Will you be sad to see them go?" The child considers this question with surprising maturity. "Yes, but they need to be free. That's what I wanted for them all along." Bennett studies the remarkable child beside her, a girl who approached 5 dangerous predators without fear, who understood instinctively what trained professionals had overlooked, who had changed the fate of these animals through her courage and compassion. "You've taught us all something important, Amara," she says softly. "Something we wouldn't have learned without you." "What's that?" Amara asks, genuinely curious. "That sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from being willing to listen to those we don't understand." Bennett answers, even when their language isn't our own, as darkness falls and the gentle rain continues. Its life-giving work across the parched landscape, lights illuminate the conservation station, where 5 lions once feared, now understood, rest peacefully under the watchful care of humans they've come to trust. Among them moves a small figure, her presence a bridge between worlds that had seemed irreconcilably separated by fear and misunderstanding. In her simple, childlike wisdom, Amara has transformed not just the fate of these 5 magnificent creatures, but potentially the approach of an entire reserve toward the predators that called this land their ancestral home. And as the rain washes away months of dust and desperation, it also carries the promise of a new beginning for the land, for its wild inhabitants, and for the humans. Charged with protecting both, 2 weeks have passed since the first life-giving rains. The Serengeti landscape has begun its remarkable transformation, parched earth yielding to tentative green shoots. At the conservation station, the changes in the lions are equally dramatic. Proper nutrition has restored their muscular definition. Medical treatment has healed their wounds. Their coats shine with renewed health. Their physical rehabilitation is complete. Thomas announces during the morning assessment. Meeting blood work is normal. Weight has increased approximately 20% across all 5. Even Nala's paw has healed beyond our expectations. Director Chen nods with satisfaction. And behaviorally, that's where the truly remarkable progress has occurred. Dr. Bennett responds, displaying comparison videos on the conference room screen. "This is Jabari 3 weeks ago when approached by anyone other than Amara. Defensive posturing warning vocalizations. Now watch him with our newest ranger trainee." The video shows a young staff member carefully approaching the male lion's enclosure. Jabari watches attentively but remains calm, even accepting a piece of meat from the rear's gloved hand. The transformation extends to all 5 lions and applies to 27 different staff members who've been systematically introduced using Amara's Protocols Bennett continues. They retain healthy caution around unfamiliar humans but no longer display aggressive responses to recognized individuals. Samuel studies the data with professional pride tempered by personal concern. They've exceeded all rehabilitation metrics. The question becomes, what next? It's the question that has occupied the team's thoughts increasingly as the Lions' recovery progressed. Minister Owe joins the conversation, having arrived for the scheduled assessment. The original plan was clear: rehabilitation followed by release back into a protected sector of their territory once the drought conditions improved, which is happening. Now Samuel confirms the seasonal water holes are refilling. Satellite imagery shows vegetation recovery throughout the eastern corridor. Prey species are already returning to the region, so we proceed with release preparations. Owe concludes, unless there are objections, the room falls silent. Despite the logical progression of the rehabilitation plan, an emotional attachment has formed not just between Amara and the Lions, but among the entire team that has witnessed this extraordinary journey. There is one consideration. Dr. Bennett says carefully, the Lions have formed a strong bond with Amara. Sudden complete separation might trigger stress responses that could potentially reactivate aggressive behaviors. Are you suggesting we cannot release wild predators back to their natural habitat because a child will miss them? Owe asks incredulously. Not at all. Bennett clarifies quickly. I'm suggesting we implement a graduated transition rather than an abrupt release. A controlled reintroduction to their territory with monitored support during the initial phase. Thomas nods in agreement. From a veterinary perspective, that makes sense. We've invested significant resources in their rehabilitation. Properly managed transition optimizes the chances of successful reintegration. Minister Oss considers this recommendation thoughtfully. Develop a detailed protocol for my review. If it meets scientific and safety standards, you'll have authorization to proceed as the meeting concludes. Samuel remains behind, studying the satellite imagery of the Lions' former territory. The green patches expanding across previously barren landscape represent hope, not just for the ghost pride, but for all the creatures dependent on this delicate ecosystem. Director Chen joins him, recognizing his conflicted expression. You've been unusually quiet during these discussions, Samuel. I'm processing multiple perspectives, he admits. As a wildlife biologist, I know returning them to the wild is correct. As Amara's father, I witness daily how deeply she's connected to these animals. The separation will be difficult. She's a remarkable child. Chen offers her intuitive understanding of these lions changed everything. Not just their fate, but potentially our entire approach to predator management. Samuel nods, acknowledging the truth in this observation. That's why I've been developing something new. He brings up a different file on his tablet showing architectural plans for a modified section of the reserve, a dedicated research and education center focused on human-predator coexistence. Built upon the principles Amara demonstrated, Chen examines the plans with growing interest. This could transform how we approach human-wildlife conflict throughout the protected areas and provide Amara with a continuing connection to conservation work, even after the ghost pride returns to the wild. Samuel adds softly. At the lion enclosures, Amara sits cross-legged outside Jabari's habitat, reading from a book about African wildlife. The massive lion rests with his head near the fence, seemingly listening to her voice. The other lions lounge nearby in their separate but adjoining spaces. The picture of contentment, Grace approaches quietly, observing her daughter with a mixture of pride and concern. Despite the extraordinary events of the past weeks, she remains protective of Amara's childhood, worried about the weight of responsibility the girl has taken upon herself. Story time? Grace asks, settling beside Amara. Jabari likes the parts about lion prides best. Amara responds matter-of-factly. Nala prefers hunting stories. Grace smiles at her daughter's certainty about the lion's literary preferences. The team meeting finished. They're talking about preparation for releasing the lions back to the wild. Amara nods unsurprised. I know their territory is green again. They need to go home. You understand they won't be coming.